Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Adam Eisen Show. We're going into episode 10 of the podcast now, and I am joined today by one of my friends from my hometown, Levi Whitson, to talk some NFL and NBA. Levi, how's it going today, buddy?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah, I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to bring you guys back another episode, so let's just go ahead and get right into it. We're about 6 days removed now from week 14 of the NFL season. We're now moving on to week 15. And one of the big things I saw taken away, San Francisco has now moved to 4-1 in their last 5 games. San Francisco, they're extremely talented team. They're getting healthy now. Kittle's starting to ball, but they cannot mess up. Teams like the Bucks, the Packers, Cardinals, they can afford to mess up. San Francisco has to be perfect in all ways they play. They're top 10 in rush yards, top 10 in defense, and top 10 in overall offense. But they're at the later parts of those top 10. They're like 8, 9, 10 overall. And they just can't have turnovers, and they need to play perfect for them to win. And it's that way because of the amount of injuries they have and because of Garoppolo. This is where it's going to take me. I've always been a big advocate in the NFL for a 2 QB system. It started a few years ago. Lamar and Flacco, Breeze and Taysom Hill. I loved it. Would throw off the defense a ton whenever they would bring in Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco would go out or go to the wideout position, would really mix things up. And if you look at Kyle Shanahan and San Francisco 49ers, their last 5 years, the three bad ones were when Garoppolo was injured, and they were dealing with guys like Nick Mullins as their starters. So if you keep Trey Lance, you keep Garoppolo. Garoppolo has a massive cap hit, I understand, and you never want to pay two quarterbacks. One's a first rounder, another one's with big cap hit. But the only chance San Francisco is going to have to stay in the playoffs, people don't. Garoppolo is a lot better than people give him credit for, in my opinion. And I think he can do a lot more. He's just a little bit injury prone. And the idea of a 2 QB offense, I think, could be very valuable for San Francisco. And Kyle Shanahan is an offensive mastermind. I don't think it's something that would be hard for him to do. What do you think, Levi?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I just wanted to touch in on your point on turnovers, and that's with in that hold on, sorry. Yeah, they're starting to use Debo Samuel more in the backfield, which has been way better. It keeps the ball, you know, eliminating some of the passing game for Jimmy G, so there's not as many chances to turn the ball over. And Debo Samuel is an absolute weapon in the backfield. He's been rushing a lot. And they got George Kittle back, which is Jimmy G's probably the top target in the receiving end, because he's not throwing to Brandon Ayuk as much as I thought he would. In the last game, George Kittle absolutely killed it. So I mean, yeah, in terms of interceptions, it's probably that's going to be the biggest part for the 49ers. But Jimmy G's starting to play a lot better, so that's just what I have on that.
I would love to see the 49ers come up and make a push for the playoffs. They're a team that if they get in at the 6 or 7 seed, it's not something you can write off at all. They can very easily make a run. It depends on what week you play them. They're a very up and down football
Yeah, I
team.
would agree.
And then I want to move over to actually I want to touch on Cincinnati a little bit because they did play Cincinnati last week.
That
Cincinnati
was a
has
great
been
game.
on an absolute downturn as of late due to injuries and stuff like that. Joe Burrow is getting hit a lot more. They need to beef up that offensive line. It's not been good for him overall. And the Bengals are kind of on a down spiral. I originally had the Bengals making the playoffs as about the 7 seed, and now I'm starting to think the Colts are going to come in. The Colts will take their spot, and I really want to see Cincinnati make it this year, but they're starting to get beat up. And for them, they had every opportunity to beat the 49ers, and they lost the game in overtime 26-23. And that they couldn't. That was after losing to the Chargers. It was like not a must-win game for them, but it was a big win for morale, I think. And now they haven't
Oh
won a
yeah.
game in a few weeks. We're going into the last month of the season. This is when real football is. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati's going to really have to pick it up. That O line cannot protect uh, Joe Burrow. not getting a lot of connections with Jamar Chase. They've been putting a lot of coverage on him, and he's been trying to go to T. Higgins. So that's just a big connection that's been taken away from him, and their offense just hasn't been able to click as much. And along with their defense not doing their job as great. I
He was
see
going
Cincinnati. Yeah,
Yeah, he was going to Jamar Chase so much during the first 8 weeks of the year. Like, you remember all those records being set? 700 first, the fastest rookie receiver to 750 yards, all that. And now it was kind of like, okay, that's where the Bengals offense goes through. So they took away Jamar Chase, and now he's having to use
yeah, and
guys
it's
like
now
T.
a lot harder
Higgins.
for Burrow. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Tyler Boyd, guys who have been underperforming this year because Jamar Chase has taken a lot of work off of them. And you got Jamar Chase is still a rookie. He's not a guy who's used to double teams and stuff like that. And
Last week they played pretty well together. He had two receiving touchdowns, but the last
yep.
4 weeks he hasn't had much of offense just because they've been covering him so well. And Chase and Burrow are dynamic duo. They played together in LSU, so it's just been weird to not see them connecting as much
Oh,
for
I
sure for
can't
me.
imagine another off season from now. Cincinnati is definitely on the come up, and I'm glad to see that they are. I mean, hell, they don't even have an indoor practice facility.
Yeah,
Like, the
yeah.
Bengals are in ruins. It's an embarrassment of a franchise. So to see them be doing better, it's good to see. Kind of like the Lions.
Yeah, at least they can put up one win. A lucky win against
Exactly.
the
A
Vikings.
lucky win. Hey, Jared Goff's signature 2-minute drive.
I mean, that
It,
was
it
a
was a pretty
crazy
good drive,
last drive.
but
Like I will give I mean, Goff had a good game considering, he's on the Lions.
yeah. No, the whole year I've refused to bet against the Lions because they've always kept games at least most games semi close. They have gotten blown out a few times.
I thought they
And
would get their first W against the Bears, but
yeah,
that did
agreed.
not happen.
They just have so much passion. Dan Campbell is so like compassionate, loves the team. They were gonna get the win. I was not surprised.
Yeah, it was crazy to see Jared Goff's reaction at the end of that game
Oh,
for
it was
sure.
great seeing him and Dan Campbell, Motor City
Yeah.
Dan. Yeah, no, that was great. So Bucks are your team, Levi. I watched the
Yes,
Bucks
sir.
versus Bill.
TB12.
Yeah, me and Levi started watching the Man in the Arena documentary. Anybody listening, definitely go watch Man in the Arena, Tom Brady's documentary. Very well done, very well put together. Really enjoyed it so far. And I'm not a
Oh
Tom
yeah, it's
Brady
great.
fan. I really dislike Tom Brady. Just like every other person that does it. You either love him or you hate him.
I guess I'm just one of those dudes who love him.
So the Bucks, we've seen something interesting from them the last couple weeks they've played. They've had some halves of football where they look unbeatable. Like literally they have zero flaws, they're playing great. And then the next half they'll come back out and fall flat. And they did it against the Bills. I think they had 25 points up or something like that. And they only scored 3 in the second half and
uh,
almost gave the Bills a way to come back.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 25-3 at the start of the half, and then that Josh Allen just got it going. The pass rush for the Bucks just wasn't doing their job. They allowed Josh Allen to rush for 100 yards. He got a rushing touchdown, and then the secondary started to give out as well. So, I mean, if you're going to be a championship team, you just can't allow that to happen.
I agree with, but the thing about the Bucks, what they got the victory, so that's obviously important. But the thing
Yeah.
that they're going to keep getting so much better as time goes on. Leonard Fournette last year, he just kept getting better till the playoffs. He continued that this year and just keeps getting better. And as time progresses, that team is just full of veterans. Sue, Veda on defense, Richard Sherman. That defense is insane. And then you have
Yeah,
Tom Brady leading the offense and Gronk.
and the Bucks are still the number one passing team right now, averaging 314 yards per game. And then you add along a great running back like Leonard Fournette. I mean, you add that along with a passing game like that. I mean, it's just almost a recipe for disaster against defenses. I mean,
No,
the
it definitely
defense,
is.
yeah,
It's interesting to see what's happened to them in the other halves of foot because they come out the first half or come out in the second half and play unbeat like you're not beating them. They fall flat. But I see come playoffs, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl if they make it there. I think it'll be interesting. I, the Bucks will be just fine.
Yeah, the only game I've really seen the secondary play just absolutely awful was against the Washington football team. They just allowed Heineke to complete, fourth down after fourth down after fourth down. And, it gave Brady no time in the end of that game to even do anything. So, I mean, that's the only
That
game I've
was
seen them
just
play really bad.
Heineke, dude. I don't, and it makes me quite like Heineke's obviously not great, but he's good, not great.
He's mediocre.
He's mediocre, and he's getting better. In the games against Tampa Bay, and it's against Tom Brady, this can happen to players. His play has elevated because of who he's playing. He's told he has no shot. He's playing the guy who has 7 Super Bowls and is the
Yeah, and
best.
that would definitely motivate you to play,
And
your
that's
heart
just
out.
like but he's just out there playing football, having a great time. And so when you play against guys like that, or you play against really good quarterbacks, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Bucks defense.
Yeah, for sure.
And
How they'll adjust.
if the Bills were on in that first half, that would have been a war of a game, and it still was a war of a game. It came down there in the fourth quarter.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's. You got the We both have the same NFC Championship game prediction. I have
Bucks
Bucks
and
at
Green Bay
Packers.
again.
Do
Yeah,
you
they'll
think it's
probably
going to
be
be at
back at
Green Bay?
Lambeau.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to
I
be at
think
Lambeau.
that Green Bay will hold the record until the playoffs start.
Oh my dude, I hope they do. We need it to be at Lambeau, but I can't take it again this year. If we lose another NFC Championship game, it's going to be a bad 5
Well,
and 7 years.
I mean, Rogers last year said, we need Lambeau, we need the cold, and I think we can do it this year. And they came up short. But I mean, if it's a back to back in Lambeau, we'll just have to see what happens.
I'm having more faith with the back in Lambeau. The Packers are playing scary. The Packers only have 10 turnovers all year. It was very obvious last game Devontae wasn't 100%, and he was still torching every. That's what's most. Devontae Adams is a piece of art. Like it's amazing. We were
Yeah,
talking
Adams not
about it.
100% last week. Still had 13 targets with 10 receptions. I mean, absolutely crazy. I mean,
He 2
121 receiving
touchdowns.
yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Yeah.
The Adams absolutely balls out, and the NFC playoffs this year is going to be an absolute war. AFC, I think it's not easier to predict because, granted, any given Sunday, absolutely anything can happen.
Agreed.
NFC playoffs, it feels like a Bucks or Packers,
I would definitely agree. I mean, I just feel like those power rankings are definitely going to come down to that matchup again.
and I love how there's only one team for a bye now.
Yeah,
Well, only being one team, that makes it a lot more interesting.
it certainly does.
Puts teams through a lot more. So one of the other teams at the top of the AFC, the Chiefs. Well, I didn't get to talk on the podcast before they played the Chargers. Mahomes in his last 9 games is now sitting at 13 touchdowns, 7 of which have come against the Raiders. I said last on episode 9 what the Raiders would do. They would not play too deep like dumbasses, and they would let Mahomes have the over the top Tyreek Hill, those types of balls. And what you have to do is make Patrick Mahomes drive down the field, be patient. It was something man in the arena. Tom Brady was talking about it on one of the episodes. He was like, defenses started making us slowly drive down the field, and it got very annoying for him because he was so used to the deep shot, especially when he had Randy Moss, Wes Welker, all those guys made a big difference.
Yeah, certainly. I guess it's been taking a toll on Patrick Mahomes to have that kind of patience to, just run the ball a little more and not just want to just chuck the ball to Tyreek Hill, every snap.
It, I the Chiefs are still going to be a problem come the playoffs. At the moment, they're looking like the best team in the AFC, especially come the playoffs. You know how the Chiefs are going to play.
Yeah, and their defense is absolutely improved for sure.
Oh, so much. And until
It's
they let
crazy.
up 28 against the Chargers, they won 3 straight games, only letting up 9 points.
Yeah, absolutely insane considering
Ridiculous.
where they started.
Yep. Yeah, no, ridiculous. And then Chargers against them on Thursday night went 2 for 5 on fourth down. I'm a big fan of going for it on fourth down. First quarter, second quarter. I think it depends. First and second quarter, I think it's a lot more safe to go for it on fourth down because it's situational football. You have to think about where you're putting your team, what yard line you're on. Is your defense gassed? Are they going to give up the easy touchdown? Like, what type of situations you're in? So, Chargers, they went for it on 5 4th downs, and a lot of people are coming after the Chargers head coach for it. But I don't really think it's a pro. Like, he's not going to lose. People are saying he's going to lose people in the locker room. Guys, players are never going to be upset with going for it on fourth down. The football players, it's 53 alpha males on a sideline. They don't want to punt the ball. They want to go for it on 4th and 15. Like, that's just
Yeah,
the
especially when it's like 4th and 1, 4th and 2. When you have
exact.
Austin Eckler, it's kind of like, let's just go for it.
How do you not? And that you risk if you are inside your own like 30, you risk losing players kicking. Rather, granted, you're 2 for 4 at one point, and then you go for it again. If they would have taken the points, the game probably would have turned out a lot different. Is the reason everybody's coming after the Chargers right now. But when you look
And
at
that's just the biggest
analytics,
chance you take.
when you look at the personnel that they have on their team, the Chargers should have gone for it as many times as they did on fourth down, and it just didn't go their way.
Yeah, analytics would say to go for it, and they just didn't get him.
Do you think, Levi? Do you think the Colts are going to make the playoffs this year? They started 1-4. They're 6-2 since, and they're now sitting in the sixth spot in the AFC.
I think they certainly have a chance. I think if they beat New England tonight, it'll definitely give them a lot more momentum to keep playing well. I mean, they have the number one running back and a great O line, and as long as Carson Wentz keeps playing pretty good, I think they have a chance to make a run.
The New England game tonight is going to be an absolute war. I cannot wait.
I certainly agree.
And this whole having football on, we got football. We had it on Thursday. We have it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday,
Great week for
Sunday.
football.
It is going to be a great 10 days. No, I am excited, but I agree with you. I think the Colts are going to make the playoffs. They're plus 13 in turnover ratio. That's really damn good. They're 10th in yards per game and second in rush yards per game. You're just talking about Jonathan Taylor. He's a beast. And everybody
Crazy
talks
numbers.
about Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry had more carries than Jonathan Taylor. He was injured 6 weeks ago and had more carries until like a week ago. Derrick Henry just gets the ball 40 to 50 times a game. It's ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, that Titans offense just solely uses him through the main soul of their offense is Derrick Henry. So, but I mean, you can't blame him when you have a beast like Derrick Henry.
I think my best they're just outside top 10 in defense, so it's definitely a playoff team. What I like the most for the Colts are they're a historical team. They deserve to be in the mix, and Carson Wentz also deserved another chance. What happened in Philadelphia
Yeah,
was awful. I feel great for Carson Wentz that he's getting this chance now, and he's balling out. Dude's playing pretty good. They're
I mean,
seven
when
and
you have
six.
a O line as great as the Colts do, you have to ball out almost. I mean,
Yeah, you
Carson
do.
Wentz has been showing up, and in
He's a
Philly, he
magician.
had nothing. Oh, for sure.
Dude, but half the plays, it's like sometimes he'll pull a rabbit out of his hat, and it's amazing. And sometimes he'll pull a lump of coal out of his hat, and it's like what? It's like the 3 out of 10 times he pulls a lump of coal, and you're like, what?
Yeah, they've had a few heartbreaking losses, especially that
Yeah,
one to the Ravens.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Carson made some questionable. So it's not a Super Bowl caliber roster yet, in my opinion, but it's definitely worthy of a playoff spot. And they can easily surprise a good team. Like if they went to Chiefs, Colts at Chiefs first round, I could see Chiefs barely winning that game 28-24.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor would give that defense a run for their money for sure.
Like it would not be an easy thing, especially the Colts are going to be the massive underdog. It honestly, the Chiefs would have to lose out at this point and turn into a dumpster fire for them not to go into the AFC postseason and be favored and everybody talking about them saying they're the best. Even with them and the Patriots, everybody's going to be just going crazy for them.
Yeah, the Chiefs are the number one team in the AFC, which I mean, honestly doesn't say much because I feel like, the top four teams in the NFC could easily beat Kansas City right now. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I agree with you. The only team I don't I think the Patriots could beat any of the teams in the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah,
Patriots are such a weird team. There and Belichick is just Belichick, dude. He's the
yeah, Bill
best.
Belichick, he's just a genius, man.
And then we watched him. It's like nobody was really forgetting about it because he hit on all of his draft picks. He spent $160 million the first day of free agency this year. So no one really forgot what he did. But then seeing what he did against the Bills and that cold of weather with all the wind and all that, it was very
Three
impressive.
passes, and
Three
I
passes.
don't even know how many times they ran it, but
Oh, they had
it
over
seemed like an
200
infinite amount.
over 200 total yards on the ground.
Yeah, which I mean, it was a great plan going in considering those conditions. I mean, and obviously it worked considering the Bills couldn't stop the run.
So it was Jaguars finally got their plan on track. It's a great day for the football world. I've been on this for months now. I liked Urban Meyer coming in. When I heard they were signing Tebow, I got excited. I said, this is going to bring Jaguars fans. This is going to sell more tickets. This is going to be good for the stadium. Jaguars have only been a franchise for about 25 years. And I thought it was going to be very good and bring a lot of attention.
Yeah, it
Well,
would have
now
been great to see Tim Tebow play tight end.
it would have been great. Who wouldn't have loved that? And then seeing him do little like Jesus stuff at the end on the logo, how do you not
Praying to this guy.
pray into the sky? And then he goes out and catches a game-winning touchdown. How do you not love that? And then
Yeah.
so obviously he got cut. Well, now the Jaguars are 2-11. They lost the
Yeah.
Titans 20-0. And all these reports have came out. Now Urban Meyer is fired. Thank God. I've been wanting it forever. And I
Thank
want to
God.
take you guys through a little timeline of what happened before he got fired. So January 14th, 2021, Jacksonville hires Urban Meyer. Then February 12th, not even a month later, assistant resigns because of bullying and racist allegations. Then May 20th, Jags signed Tim Tebow. And around that same time, they drafted a running back in the first round when they already had James Robinson. That was when Urban Meyer started to lose this organization. Levi, I know you have a lot of strong opinions about James Robinson as well. For this
Well,
to come
yeah,
out
he's
on the
just a
football
great
field,
running back, and he just stopped using him to his full potential after one fumble mistake. And
it,
I
it,
mean, players make mistakes, but you can't just totally stop using them.
no, what Urban doesn't understand is this isn't college. He can't come in here and be a dictator. He's supposed to come in here and be friends with his players, not a dictator and a coach. He is a friend. And for him to do that today, it's one thing to have this stuff off the field happening. It's another thing to let it come on the field as well. That's even worse. So that was the first big red flag. Let's get back to the timeline. August 31st, Mayor says vaccinations were consideration in roster cuts. That's awful. And around this same time, they cut Tim Tebow after Urban Meyer is literally getting laughed at in practice, and he is considered a joke among Jacksonville players. And then October 4th, Urban Meyer is seen in an Ohio bar with a woman, not his wife, on his lap. So yeah, we're just gonna go.
We're just gonna,
We're just
go to
gonna
the
leave
next
that
one.
one out there. Uh, December 11th, reports surfaced that Urban called his assistants losers, and he was the only real winner. And then the 15th of December, we see the Josh Lambo story of Urban Meyer supposedly kicking him, and now Urban Meyer's out. And Khan, the Jaguars owner, has been looking for a way out for a couple weeks now, I'd say. And the thing was, now that they have this kicking story, they can fire Urban with cause detrimental to the team. So that means Urban does not get paid the rest of his contract. That's why he hasn't been fired yet.
which he deserved.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve. But if they would have fired him before the Josh Lambo story came out, they would have had to pay him the rest. There's going to be a legal battle. There's going to be a lot, and he could still get a good amount of money in settlement. But
Oh
that's why
yeah,
it took so long. I'm very happy Urban Meyer's gone. I would not be surprised at all to go out and see the Jaguars. Jaguars, we have what, 4 games left in this season? Would not be surprised to see them go out and win 2 games, 3 games. Even if they win a game, I think if they come out and win this weekend, it's gonna be such a win for Jacksonville and such an FU to Urban Meyer that he deserves.
yeah. Whoever they hire, I feel like they'll definitely be using the Jags to their full strength, like they should have been this entire time. And I feel like the Jags are just a way better team than how they've been playing. And to see somebody way better in control will definitely do them a whole lot better good because they have a lot of talent with Trevor Simeon, first round pick, and then James Robinson is a top tier and been being used.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with you. James Robinson needs to get used more. It's a little ridiculous where it got to him, and it's just sad to see that got that place. Uh, gonna jump over. This might be we got 1 or 2 NFL topics left, then we're gonna jump over to the NBA. I wanted to look at OBJ and the Rams with you. OBJ now in 3 games has 3 touchdowns, and I think it's very evident at this
He's
point
been
that
balling out.
the Browns were the problem and Baker Mayfield was the problem. I love Baker Mayfield. I have loved Baker Mayfield since he got drafted to Cleveland. I've told my dad about it countless times. I told my whole family. I was all over Baker Mayfield. And to see the sad thing is, I know his ego. I know how he is, and I'm not. I truly believe that he would let his ego out onto the football field, and it would affect who he throws the ball to.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I thought that would for me, I felt like OBJ was going to be more of a problem to the Rams than an asset, which
Agreed.
we definitely saw in that first matchup he was in. Because I
Against
mean,
us, yeah.
yeah, he had only been like with the organization for a day, and Sean McVay likes to just run it almost no huddle, and they kept having to huddle to tell him what to do. And we saw that first interception real early, and it was just like, yeah, this is gonna be a problem. But they've turned it around, so.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he never, if you look, he had 3 touchdowns in 3 games with the Rams. It took him 4 games with the Giants to get 3 touchdowns. It took him 14 games with the Browns to get 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, which is literally insane considering, how long OBJ's been in the league, and he still is a very good wide receiver.
Agreed. Folks, it is not a scheme thing. It's not an OBJ thing. It is a Baker Mayfield thing. OBJ never even really wanted to be in Cleveland in the first place. He went there because his buddy Jarvis Landry was there. They were best friends. Cleveland looked like they were loading up. And guess what? Cleveland, like they always do. We see many stars. We've seen LeBron go to Cleveland and leave Cleveland twice. Big stars don't like Cleveland. OBJ is a big star. He is happy in LA. He has friends there. He feels comfortable there, and it's just going to be better for them overall.
Yeah, and Odo Beckham Jr. is an off the field star for sure. So I mean, he does have a lot of friends in Los Angeles. So I mean, he's just way happier playing there. So I mean, it's evident to see him playing better. He's just having a good time.
Now we're seeing the game against the Cardinals last week for the Rams. It made me start to feel a lot better about the Rams because they were obviously on that skid there for a while, and they beat up on
Yeah,
the Jaguars really big. But it was the
it's
Jaguars
the
with Urban
Jaguars.
Meyer, not even without Urban Meyer. And the Rams still have fight. They have plenty of COVID stuff right now. They lead the NFL in yards per play, which is 6.2. Yards per play is one of the biggest Vegas stats there is. So that's a really good thing for the Rams. And I was
Solely coming
start
out of Cooper Cup.
yeah, basically coming out of Cooper Cup the whole time, especially this weekend with no OBJ, no Daryl Henderson. It's not
Yeah,
going
he'll
to be
definitely get
good.
even more targets. Not that he hasn't been getting already a lot, but
Yeah. No, the team they play, the Cardinals. The Cardinals see something's interesting's happening to them. They're 10-3 now. The Packers have now jumped back over them for first place in the NFC. And
hmm
the Cardinals, we've seen them now against Minnesota earlier this season when they lost the game, against the Packers, and now against the Rams. If they're close with less than 5 minutes left, and especially now that James Conner's injured, they just seem to be mismanaged as a whole. It,
I would agree.
Kyler,
Yeah.
the last play, Kyler should have spiked it. It's all like they're still young. Kyler is still young. Kingsbury's still getting the hang of it. But when you're playing guys like Rodgers, Stafford, and Brady, those playoff games are going to be close. And Rodgers and Stafford have both now beaten the Cardinals at home and caused them to unravel late. This week they're against Detroit, so I think they're going to have they should be able to take care of business, no problem there. But it's going to be interesting to see. You're going to go up against Rodgers, Stafford, or Brady, at least one of them, most likely two of them in the playoffs. And they're going to keep it close. If Arizona can't play a close football game, then they don't have a chance in the playoffs because that's what 90% of it is.
Yeah, I certainly agree. If the Cardinals can't fix up those type of crucial moments, they're gonna have no chance against teams like the Bucks or the Packers. It's just not gonna. As great as the Cardinals are, I just don't think they're gonna have that, that type of ability down the line.
Yeah, they're so good, especially coming out the gate. They started off like 7-0 or 6-0, I believe it was, and they're really good. There's just something up about playing them close. Cardinals aren't as good. They start to get antsy. They start to freak out. If you give them a lead, you're not getting that lead back. But if you keep it
Oh
close
yeah,
and you play 55 minutes worth of football, that last 5 minutes, you're going to win the game.
yeah, and they've had some injuries. James Conner is questionable now, and I'm pretty sure DeAndre Hopkins is now injured. So it's gonna be interesting to see,
Yeah.
just how the offense plays later on in the season.
They're lucky they have Detroit this week.
Oh, for sure. And if excuse me, if James Connors plays, he'll have a great game.
Oh, yeah, I hope he does play. I have him in fantasy.
I do as well.
Yeah. So Joe Judge, Daniel Jones, Dave Gettleman, and the New York Giants. What do you think happens, Levi? I'm think Joe Judge is now 4-9 this year, 10-19 overall. I've been wanting them to get rid of Daniel Jones for last little while now, at least for the last year. And it's starting to look like reports are coming out of New York. Joe Judge is going to get another year. Dave Gettleman could possibly, I see that less likely. Giants have 2 first-round picks this year. Both are likely in the top 10, and they have 11 picks overall. They have plenty. Joe Judge can fix this team next year and save his job with the New York Giants, which when he came in, he was loving. He seemed to really care about, and he was a really compassionate coach. And so I'd like to see him be able to stay with the Giants. But I don't think he is going to risk his last year in New York with all these draft picks, with this opportunity to turn things around on Daniel Jones, who in 3 seasons has showed us athleticism, but has not showed us much more than that.
Oh yeah, Joe Judge has had overall a mediocre year. It's a little bit of a stretch as far as the QB position, but I wouldn't be insanely surprised if Russell Wilson, maybe it lands in
I
New
would love
York.
it.
Yeah, the New York Giants, I feel like would be a great team for him. It's either that or the Broncos. And honestly,
That's
if I
yeah,
mean if the Packers lose this season,
yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me to see Aaron Rodgers maybe go to Denver as
I agree
well.
with you. No, I think for Aaron, I think Denver, Pittsburgh, or San Francisco. But San Francisco, they have Trey Lance now.
Yeah, they have a future in him. I just think, honestly, the Denver Broncos is probably the best place besides Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. But I didn't even think about that. Giants having 11 draft picks and Daniel Jones, they could easily trade for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's what I'm think. That's what I'm saying. And the Seahawks know that Russ is getting fed up. And I mean, he's been injured this year, so who knows what would have happened down that stretch if he would have
Hell,
played
I
those
would be
games.
fed up.
Yeah, I mean, he has a terrible line. He has no run game, and he only has two targets. I mean, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I mean, that's the soul of their
No,
offense.
Pete did not plan for the future. Pete Carroll, in my opinion, is out after this year.
Yeah, I would agree.
He's just, it's kind of coming to a natural end like it did for him in USC. It's just, he's not adapting his game. I talked about it last week. Belichick and Nick Saban are masters at adapting and changing the way they play football. Look at the game plan Bill Belichick installed against the Buffalo Bills. Belichick is a
Yeah,
master
he's
at
just
game
a
planning,
mastermind.
and but Pete Carroll plays the same way. He goes for the same things each year, and he hasn't changed up.
Hmm.
The league is not the same that it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, from 2015 till now, I mean, the Seahawks. I mean, they've gone positive every year, but it just seems that down the stretch, they just don't have enough offensive power
Yeah, I would
to
agree
do
with.
anything.
I'd agree with you. And Russell Wilson hurried up, came back as quick as he could. Where they said he was rehabbing 22 hours a day, waking up and doing it at night, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So very impressive. I'm sad to see us Russell. I would like to see Russell get traded, but also I'd rather see Pete Carroll be gone, Russell get a new coach, them rebuild Seattle.
Yeah, because he already has two top wide receivers that I mean
Yeah.
are good targets for him, and it'd be sad to see him have to leave that.
Yeah, DK is just great. DK's kind of having a down year this year, but DK Metcalf's just too big, too strong, too good of a receiver.
Yeah, he's still a great receiver, but he had a get targets from what's his name,
Gino.
the backup quarter. Yeah, Geno Smith. Yeah, having to get targets from him, and not Russell Wilson for a few games. I mean, obviously your numbers would be down. So same with Tyler Lockett.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, their record's down because of Gino, but I was glad. I was happy to see Geno Smith get another chance. I remember him on the Jets back in 2014. He was
Yeah,
playing good. So Levi, you're my NBA guy. We're gonna transfer over to NBA a little bit. You
certainly.
watch
Let's
more
go.
NBA than I do. I get really into the NBA come playoff time. Playoff NBA is the best. Like the last
It
15
really is.
games of the regular season and playoff basketball, oh my god. It's so you're rooting for everything to go to game 7. Like it
Yeah,
is
that's
just
pretty much how it is.
it's such a good time. And the big question I wanted to ask you is the Warriors are sitting right now second in the West, 24-5. Do you think now, being 2 years without Klay Thompson, he could potentially, the dates are getting released. Earliest is January 3rd. It's not likely. Likely date for his return is January 9th. Do you think Klay Thompson coming back might affect this amazing flow that Golden State has going for him right now?
I think it'll definitely take him some time to get back into the offensive flow of the game. But Klay Thompson is just such a prime defensive player. I feel like whatever he doesn't, make up for on the offensive side, he'll make up for on the defensive side. But I don't think it'll take him that long to come back. I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see if Klay Thompson is still that same insanely good Klay Thompson that he was 2 years ago. It's just going to be something really interesting to see.
And how him and Steph can continue to work together. Like they're the Splash Bros. I bet their chemistry is still going to be off the charts. But that team is almost 100% different from where it was when Clay played on it last with KD and the
Oh,
finals.
absolutely. I mean, and Clay coming back will definitely take some of that pressure off of Steph. I mean, he's been shooting so many threes, which I mean, his numbers have been down a little bit just because considering, the record, all of that weighing on him. And he just takes a lot of shots just because they need him to.
Yeah, when Clay's able to come back, it's going to mix up the league too because everybody's like, you game plan for teams a little bit. In the NBA, you game plan a little bit less because it's just such a quick turnaround. but you're
Yeah.
still deciding how you pregame. You're like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. You're gonna guard him. I'm gonna guard him. And Clay coming back, that completely changes how people are gonna have to play Golden State, and it's gonna be a good mix up for them to get like 30, 35 games into the season.
Yeah, for sure. And Steve Kerr, it just has such a good defensive mindset. I mean, the Warriors are the number one team on defense. And they're just so good on defense. Adding Klay Thompson to the mix is just going to make them even better defensively. And everybody knows his offensive game is off the charts. So I mean, they're just going to be the team to beat this year, in my opinion. Even though they're second in the West now behind the Suns, it's just going to be
Yeah,
it's
I
going
know
to be
you're a big
interesting.
Golden State fan. So you think Golden State's gonna win the West this year?
I certainly think down the stretch, once they have, Clay back in the mix and their chemistry is back together as it once was, I definitely think that they'll probably make it this year. And the only big opponent they have is probably Phoenix, and Devin Booker's out right now. I mean, once he gets back, they'll be probably fine down the stretch. But I still think Golden State would beat Phoenix in a 7-game series if it came
Oh,
down to that.
yeah, I'd agree with that. But you know who you can't rule out is the Showtime Lakers.
The
The
Showtime Lakers.
Showtime Lakers.
I mean, you can't be blind to see that they're playing pretty poorly right now. But I mean, it's LeBron James, and down the stretch, I mean, if everyone's healthy, they'll definitely make a run. I don't. The West is just such a powerhouse.
Yeah,
I
here's my
mean,
thing with the Lakers. If Anthony Davis last night, he had the ankle injury in the first quarter, knee injury in the third quarter.
yeah,
They have a better point differential when Russell Westbrook is on the floor compared to when AD is on the floor. There's been some hate revolving around Westbrook this year. I think Westbrook's fitting in great with the Lakers. He's putting up a lot of points, and they needed another 20, 25 point scorer. If you have LeBron, if AD is able to get healthy, and you have
yeah.
LeBron scoring, averaging 25, Russell Westbrook averaging 22, 23, AD averaging 20 to 25, and then you have Melo putting up 14 to 15 with all the 3-point shooters they have. It's really just going to come down to if they're healthy.
Yeah, Melo was definitely a great ad for sure. Getting those, I mean, he's just a great catch and shoot 3-point shooter, and that's exactly what the Lakers needed. They needed shooters, which I felt was kind of the controversy around adding Russell Westbrook because, I mean, what has Russell Westbrook been? He's just an absolute stat monster, and that's what he was with, the Thunder with no other superstar and the Wizards. I mean, he's just a drive to the basket every single time type of player, and I just didn't feel like that would really work with the Lakers. But I mean, he's starting to get it together in terms of chemistry with the team. His assist numbers are about to be back up to where they were, and he's playing a lot better. I just think the overall chemistry of the Lakers has been down. The three big stars, LeBron, AD, and Russ. I just don't know how they're going to look down the stretch and how their chemistry is going to be. If come the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see. And now they have Isaiah Thomas. He came in last night, 19 points in 21 minutes. I was very
Yeah, he's a
excited to see
great
IT.
ad. I mean, and it was insane that he was in the G League. I mean, he's in the G League putting
Dude,
up 40 points.
he was playing overseas.
I know. Like,
Like,
it's
it's
just
insane. I
crazy.
feel terrible for what happened to him going from Boston, his sister dying, getting traded to Cleveland.
Yeah.
LeBron hated him in Cleveland. That's why I'm surprised IT's back because didn't LeBron hate IT?
Yeah, there was a lot of controversy in the media revolving around them too. But I mean, I think at this point LeBron doesn't really care about that crap. He just wants to form a team that he can do something with down the stretch.
Le GM.
Le GM.
Le GM. Dude, he is insane. I know
I
you're
mean,
a hater. I know you're a hater.
well, I am a LeBron hater, I will admit, but there's not a point in, you have to admit LeBron's one of the greatest ever to
It's
do it.
just my thing is watching him now in the playoff games he's played. He has added an extra 3 seasons onto his career. So he's in year 17. Technically, he's played 20 seasons worth of basketball, and he's averaged 25 points per game for all of them.
Yeah, he's offensively, he's been shooting a lot more threes. He's been shooting a lot more shots, and that's the kind of the player he's turned into because he's just not that LeBron anymore, where you can just drive to the paint with a
Yeah, he's
massive,
not. It's
the
more of a
the
mental
massive
game
body
now.
mass. Yeah, for sure. He's gotten a lot older. He's 36 years old. You can't tire himself out every game just driving himself to the basket.
He's just trying to get to the point where Bronny gets in, and then he can play with Bronny a year, and then he'll retire.
That definitely would be interesting
Dude,
to
no, when
see.
that's going to his contract with the Lakers, because he restructured his contract during the summer. His contract ends the year Bronny has the first eligibility for the NBA. He
That would definitely be pretty insane to see them
he
play
has
together.
said the amount of times he said no bigger accomplishment would be than the playing alongside my son, even if they don't play against with each other. Imagine playing against
Yeah, that would be even more interesting, honestly.
LeBron James versus LeBron James Jr. LeBron Jr.
Oh my
God,
goodness.
yeah, that would be insane. And jumping over to the Eastern Conference,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts with the Nets and Kyrie? Kyrie was cleared yesterday to be able to travel with the team and be able to play in their games outside of New York. New York has a vaccine mandate and will not allow
Hmm.
Kyrie to play unless he gets the vaccine, will allow him to play in New York. Originally, before the season, Brooklyn said you will not be a part of this team. But yesterday, they were up to 8 players on their COVID list. So they brought Kyrie in for road games, and now Kyrie is already on the
Yeah,
COVID
it's
list.
COVID. Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate to see, but I mean, I like Kyrie Irving. It'll be cool to see him back. He'll definitely be a big add to the Nets. I mean, the Nets were just such an offensive powerhouse when all three of them were playing really well together. And I mean, he won't be playing every game, but he definitely will be a help down the stretch during away games.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sorry. Kyrie will definitely be a big help. It's if it gets to the playoffs and Kyrie is playing, how is Kyrie gonna only play in away road games for the playoffs?
Well, I mean,
Imagine the
the NBA
Brooklyn
playoffs
Nets.
is a 4-game win, so I mean,
Imagine the Brooklyn Nets make it to the championship. They have the 1 seed, okay? It is tied 3-3, game 7 in Brooklyn. Kyrie just put up a 50-point triple-double at
yeah,
Golden State.
that'll be the
And
controversy
now
of it.
everybody's going to go, wait, Kyrie Irving just put up a 50-point triple-double at Golden State, and now he can't play. And then if the Nets win the championship, Kyrie's not even there.
Yeah, and it's just going to be really interesting to see down the stretch. How he comes back with the team. Only playing away games. But I'm honestly just glad to see that he's come back because he's just such
Yeah.
a great player.
He's a great player for the game. He adds a lot to the game, so I think it's going to be good for him to be back. And it adds another storyline. The NBA, it's one of the biggest leagues, especially with the social media presence they have, and just the amount of
Oh yeah,
storylines that they create. It's great. It's good for the league seeing Kyrie Irving come back.
yeah. And in terms of the East, I mean, our powerhouses are Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. In my opinion, I feel like those are the four biggest powerhouses, and those will definitely come down to the stretch against each other.
Oh, dude, I get to see Atlanta at the Hornets
Oh, really?
in
That's
March.
awesome,
Yeah, I
man.
think it's March 12th. I'm super excited to see Trey Young.
Trey Young's been balling out this season.
Trey
I will
Young's
definitely
so good.
say that.
Him and LaMelo. I want to see LaMelo ball too.
Yeah, Lamelo's finally back after being on the COVID list, but he's been
Facts.
having a phenomenal year.
I love LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, he's been great for the Hornets. Along with Miles have been a great duo.
So, time to bring up another NBA disappointment. Zion Williamson.
Yeah,
He's
that's a
sitting at
toughie.
three. What we see earlier when we were looking this stuff up? 317 pounds.
317 pounds. I mean,
That's
it's just
six
going to be
six,
insane.
bro. His knee. He can't play the game of basketball.
he really can't, and especially at that type of weight when you just can't get physically healthy,
No, okay,
it's
so Charles Barkley talked about this. When Charles Barkley came into the league, he was severely overweight. And he had this older guy on the team. I'm sorry. I don't remember the story real well, so I don't remember the guy's name. But the older guy, he was the center, and he used to be rather large. And Barkley was saying, I don't know how to get down weight. I don't know how to get down weight. And the guy helped him. Need to take down 5 pounds. I think it was every week, 5 pounds every other week, something like that. And Charles Barkley slowly got thinner. And if you look at his stats over the years, as Charles Barkley got more in shape, he naturally got better. Zion, what he was already, people were already calling him overweight a little bit at Duke. But now
yeah.
looking at, he is literally fat. His chin, you look at his
Yeah, he
chin, you
went
look
from
at his
stout,
throat,
like, dominating the paint to just overweight at this point.
and he can't, like, you look at Shaq's numbers. Shaq has an extra 7 inches on Zion.
On Zion, yeah.
And for each of those inches, take away a pound. Zion is 7 pounds less than
Yeah,
what Shaq is. It's
it's
ridiculous.
crazy.
Like, Zion can't be playing at that weight. And at this point, I don't know how he's going to get back, especially during the middle of the season. Like, it's not something that he's going to be able to fix overnight. He's not James Harden. He can't lose 30 pounds in a night
Yeah.
and then put it back on 2 hours later.
Yeah, at the club.
Oh, James Harden's a funny dude.
He really is.
Especially with Houston, he did not give two shits when he was those last little bit in Houston.
No, he really didn't. I mean, he was pretty much doing anything within his power to get out of there.
Yeah. You got anything else you want to say about the NBA, or should we move over to picks of the week before we get out of here?
I'm fine. Let's go to the picks of the week.
All right, picks of the week, guys. This week I got 5 games picked out for you. Last week I stumbled a little bit. I've been on a heater. I went 5-0, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. Last week 3-2, still above 500, still where we want to be. This week I got 5 more games for you guys. Me and Levi are both gonna pick them. First game I have is Panthers at Bills. Bills are favored by 10.5 this week. I'm taking the Bills. I have been, you guys, this is the first week I have not ranted about the Panthers, and I had to get it in there somewhere. They had their bye week last week, but that does not matter at all. Panthers are still going to fall flat. Cam Newton is still not going to be able to do anything at Buffalo after Buffalo's coming off that loss against New England. I think Bills cover the 10.5. What do you got, Levi?
Oh, I'm definitely taking Buffalo. They're going to be out for revenge after that loss out of that loss against Tampa. They're just going to come out probably as an offensive powerhouse, and that Panthers defense probably isn't going to be able to hold much up. And I know for sure that Cam Newton is not going to be able to keep up offensively.
Oh, for sure. And then, yeah, Bills are sitting at 7-6 right now. This is such a must-win game for the Bills, and I think this is kind of the Bills need to send a statement this game. I think covering the 10.5 would really be a big statement if they could do that for me. So going
Yeah.
on, football team at Eagles. This line originally sat 2 days ago. It was Eagles by 4. I was taking football team plus 4 points, and then big bad old mean COVID came and struck, and Taylor
Yeah.
Heineke and Kyle Allen are both now out for the game. It's been moved to Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and so football team is either looking at Garrett Gilbert, Jordan Tamu, or Kyle Shermer to be their starter. Really sounds like smart. I've heard of Garrett Gilbert. Garrett Gilbert could be good. But the line has now moved to Eagles minus 9.5. I know it's a 14-point swing from where I was the other day, but I don't think football team is going to be able to move the ball at all. I like their defense a lot to keep this game close. It hurts me to take this 9.5 points, but the Eagles keep games close too. That's why it hurts me. But I don't see how the football team covers here. So I got Eagles minus 9.5. What do you got, Levi?
Yeah, I certainly agree on the Eagles. With all the COVID list for the Washington football team, they're going to be able to keep up offensively. And Jalen Hurts has been playing pretty well this season. So, I mean, I'm just taking the Eagles all the way. I don't think it's going to be much of a matchup. I mean, the football team's defense will, like you said, will definitely keep it close, but I'm taking the Eagles for sure.
Okay. Then we got Titans at Steelers. The Titans are favored by 1 point now. The line originally started at 2 points. I like the Steelers +1 here. The Steelers are basically in a do or die week this week. The Titans, they're sitting a lot more comfortably than the Steelers are. This is at Pittsburgh. The Steelers need to come into this game and get a win, and they're going to have a lot more urgency than the Titans will. For that reason, I got the Steelers +1.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Pittsburgh as well. I think they're just gonna come out in this game, knowing that they really, really need to win this game. And the Titans are without most of their weapons. No Derrick Henry, no Julio Jones. So I mean, I think the Steelers are gonna win. The only thing keeping the Steelers down is just how horrendous their defense has been playing. So I mean, it's just gonna be a big battle. But I'm still taking Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I have another big line for this week. Sorry to give you guys so many big lines. I like to keep them close, but this one, it was too good to pass up. Jets at Miami. Miami's favored by 9.5 points. Miami has been on a tear as of late, doing really good. Granted, Jalen Waddle has COVID now. He will not play this weekend. Their star running back, but I like the Jets so much less. I've been following the Jets heavily the last couple weeks. I got Miami covering the 9.5 here. Levi, you agree with me, or you think the Jets are going to cover?
No, I definitely agree with you, Miami. Their defense has been playing very well. I don't think the Jets are going to be able to move the ball much against them at all. And the Jets' defense against the rush has been terrible. So I think the Dolphins are just going to stomp them.
And then we got our last game, game number 5. This is the Saturday night game that's on here in a couple hours. It's Patriots at Colts. Patriots are sitting in a much more comfortable position than the Colts are. Colts really need this game. They're sitting at the 6th seed, but literally the Colts did not play last week. They were in the 9th spot, and they didn't play and moved up to the 6th. That's how willy-nilly the AFC wildcard is right now. So the Colts need to get every
Yeah.
single win that they can get. Colts are favored by 2 here for that reason. I've been flipping back and forth on this game the whole week.
Yeah, me
But
too.
I like Pats don't have to win is my thing. I think the Colts could win this game by 1 or 2 points. And that's why I'm taking Pats +2.
Yeah, this game's definitely going to be very close. I don't know. Bill Belichick's definitely going to come in with a genius defensive plan like he
Oh,
always
of
does
course.
against Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I just don't know, man.
It's a
It's just
hard
such
game.
it's just such a hard one. I'm gonna take the Colts.
You're taking the Colts. That's the game we split on.
I'm gonna take the Colts.
Okay, sounds good. So you guys heard him. Me and Levi split. He took the Colts -2. I took Pats +2. Then the rest of the games we were the same. Panthers at Bills. Bills -10.5. Football team at Eagles. Eagles -9.5. Jets at Miami. Miami -9.5. And Titans at Steelers. Steelers +1. Those are your guys' locks for the week. Thank you all so much for tuning in again this week. Big thanks to Levi for coming on and talking with me, and I will see you guys next week for episode 11 of the Adam Eisen Show.